Hey there, I want to show you something. Just give me 1 second. This is it. This is our slab cutter. And I'm going to show you how we use it to cut our slabs of soap. All right, friends, we have a quick video for you. Today we are going to be cutting a slab of soap. Now, a lot of people have asked how we cut our slabs, and this is exactly how we do it, using the slab cutter. Unfortunately, the people that make the slab cutter for craft's sake no longer are in business. So this is super unfortunate. However, there are a few other places where you can get slab cutters, and I'll link them in the description box below. And as more people are offering them, I'll also update those links for you guys. But this is a great way to cut your slab, because if you don't have one of these, then you need to cut each loaf individually, which is also fine, and it actually works really well with a loaf slicer, I think is what they're called, or loaf splitter actually. So I'll talk about how those work, even though I don't have one, so I'll just have to sort of demonstrate visually, but I'll also show you how we use this slab cutter and why it is so wonderful. Now, first thing I need to do is unmold this soap. This is Mountain Man soap. I made it the other day, and I actually recorded the filming of the making of the soap, but the camera died, and so it didn't quite work out, but I'm going to cut it on camera with you guys. So let's move this slab cutter out of the way, first of all. Okay, we'll start with unmolding the soap. The first thing I do is pull on these little tabs, and if you've seen our video on how to line molds, you'll know what I mean when I say tabs. It's just this little piece of overturned tape so that it's really easy to get in here and unmold. So I'm pulling all the freezer paper free. And then our molds have these, I'll show you, they have these elastic bands here, and then this whole side pops open. So what I'm going to do next is remove these elastic bands, and it's going to be facing me so you won't see, but I'm going to remove these elastic bands and take this front off. All right, so let's do that. So the elastic bands are just providing tension for this front piece of wood. There's also a couple of dowels in there to hold the piece of wood in place so it doesn't shift around. Okay, so I've got the elastic bands off, and here's that piece I was talking about. So this has 4 hooks for our rubber bands, and then there's also these little pieces here for the dowels. So that just slides right in there. Now the next thing we're going to do is pull this entire slab out of here. Now I've got a couple of dowels here that I need to be cautious of when I pull it out, but basically you can just grab the freezer paper and pull. Because now your freezer paper is no longer attached, right? So, all right, there we go. Our slab is out of the mold. I'll take this over here. Now, we always clean our slabs a little bit. We get the old soap off of here, kind of scrape it off, and then just put this whole box back together, and then we line the mold. Again, if you want to see a video on how to line molds, you can check out our mold lining video or our slab lining video. All right, so now I've got basically one piece of freezer paper that goes underneath everything. And then I have these 2 end pieces, and the 2 ends come off really easily. So I'm going to pull that apart and just pull that off one end. And you'll see that it's a lot easier to remove freezer paper from a slab than it is to remove, take this entire slab out of a silicone mold. So that part's really nice, and things don't stick very much. So even if your soap is a little bit soft, this method works really well. All right, I'll try to do this one facing this way so you can see, and pull that off. All right, so now our 2 end pieces are off. And you might think that we want to take the rest of this off, but actually I don't remove this part of the freezer paper. And the reason is that this slab cutter is a little bit narrow right here. And so I want to be able to get this in here without having to drop it in. And so these pieces of freezer paper actually really help me do that. So this is a 22.5-pound slab of soap. So it's a little bit heavy. And that's why these ends actually help you, get this on here, because it's a little bit of a tight bed. Now, with a different type of slab cutter, you might not need to do this, but also the soap is kind of delicate at this point. So I don't want to be putting fingerprints all over it or anything. So basically what I do is I grab this and I just put it on this bed, and then we'll be ready to cut. Now, before I do that, I want to show you something. So if I didn't have the slab cutter, I would be using a loaf splitter. To do that, you would want to take this piece of paper off. Basically what I do is I bring the whole slab kind of to the edge of the table, and then I grab the bottom and pull it up. So it's really gentle and easy. And then you have your edge, your bottom exposed. So you can just take this paper and just peel it right off. And at that point, I'm not going to do it because we're going to need this paper for when we put this into our slab cutter here. But if you have a loaf splitter, you can take that loaf splitter and just push it all along here and take this top piece off. And then you'll push it again to take the next one off, and push it another time to take the last two off. So this is one great way to split your slab if you don't have this kind of slab cutter. And this is a big investment. I think this is about $500 to get. So it's pretty expensive, although it does make quick work of slabs, as you'll see in a minute. And I feel like everything gets cut really nicely. Like all the loaves are really even, which is nice. All right, so I'm going to set this back down. Again, I'm carefully going to tip it over. All right, now I'm going to put this whole slab onto the bed here. I might move this over a little bit so you can see a bit better. So this is made up of 3 guitar strings here, which I'm going to tension them up actually now that because I realized I didn't do that yet. We've got this whole bed, and it almost looks like a drawer. That's how I think of it anyway. It's like a big drawer, and this is the bottom of the drawer, and you put your slab in here, and then you can hang on to this part here and push this, and it'll cut into your loaves. Now, this was custom designed for us for our size of slab. So that's the nice thing. If you want to cut different sizes of soap, you can actually get this designed to cut in different areas. But we have ours set to cut 4. And then some people also have strings on the outside here to cut along the edge in order to make, samples or end pieces. But this is how we have ours set up. So I'm going to hoist this on here, and you'll see how the freezer paper helps me get it on here. I'll try to talk through it because it did take a little bit of practice to be able to do this. Again, I'm going to the edge of the table, kind of tilting my slab up and putting it in here. Now, there's this piece on the back, and I'm just resting the whole slab on there. And right now it's a little bit crooked, and this is where the freezer paper comes in. I'm going to grab onto the freezer paper and just guide it into position. So this way you're not thunking your entire slab down onto the cutter. What you're doing is you're gently placing it down. Now, you don't want to grab onto these when you're lifting your entire slab because they could tear. But for that little part, it's actually really nice. Now, as you probably realized, the wire cutters here are going to be going through our paper, but it turns out it's not an issue at all. And they can cut through the paper very easily. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to turn this around because I want to be able to show you what the slabs look like. And I'm going to cut it from the side. So I might be off camera just here for a second, but you'll be able to see this loaf going through, and it's going to cut, and they're going to come out the other side. So let's do that right now. All right, so once I'm all the way through, the whole thing kind of tilts a little bit like this, which is totally fine. but you'll see that all of our loaves have been cut. And I usually just leave them on the slab cutter, but basically, here's one of our loaves. So this one's cut all the way through. The paper's still on there, so obviously we have to remove that. So I'm just gonna set this up, take the paper off. Super easy. There's one loaf. Here's the second one. Again, we've got that paper on there. So I'm gonna peel that off. It's really easy to peel off. Here's our second one. All right. Peel this guy off. This mold that I lined for Mountain Man kind of had big floppy edges. Normally we don't have that much of an edge on our freezer paper. Like this is normally not so long, but all right, last one. Peel that off. All right, there we go. And now we're done with this tool. Put it back in position. And now, just like magic, you have 4 loaves of soap that you can cut just like you would normally cut any loaf of soap. So moving to slabs does have some, there's a learning curve because you need to be able to split your slab. You need to be able to line your slab. And also there's a learning curve with the actual soap making because in theory you're, have more batter than usual and the slabs get hotter. So there's a bunch of different things which we'll probably talk about in another video. But I just wanted to show you that real quick because a lot of people wonder how this works. So if you're interested in getting one, I'm going to put links down below, and they're not affiliate links or anything, or I don't think they are. Maybe they will be if I can figure out a way to make them affiliate links. But basically, you'll be able to cut your slabs all in one go, which is really the main advantage of this kind of tool. It does take up a lot of space, but it is amazing, and we love ours. Anyway, I hope you found this helpful. Happy cutting. Bye.